All right, all right, all right. Oh my gosh, we have a show for you today. I am so excited, just unbelievably excited. So I'm talking to Michael Stone, and Michael Stone is an expert at just about everything that you can imagine. At least everything that we're going to talk about today. And as I do these, and I think about living boldly with purpose, and Michael and I were talking in what we call the green room, which is right before our show. And he said, you know what? I just wrote a new book and I actually have a chapter in the book about purpose. And so we're going to have so much fun talking about it and the different things that he's done in his life. And I'm going to let him tell his story. And, we just have, how no matter what, and I will tell you guys this, I have yet to find a conversation with an individual on this planet that I can't find connection with. If I just shut up, listen, and ask a question or two, right? And they say, I guess the Kevin Bacon's 7 levels of separation. I never even get to 7 levels. Like, I don't know, they say 7 levels before you can find commonality or somebody, I asked Michael 2 questions. I said, my son works for Pixar. He said, I used to work for Pixar. How many levels is that? Like 1. I mean, it's not even close to see that somebody, if you're willing to communicate and you're willing to spend time with. Now, Michael's doing a whole bunch of work in trauma-informed care or trauma information. And so one of the things that as another connection for us, and I didn't think I even told you this, is about 7 years ago, I was running a few homeless services organizations. And so I had some bed facilities and we were designing our new facilities before they built. They would retrofit. So we would take a building that we would bought, maybe an office building, and we would retrofit it so that it would have beds that people who have been experiencing homelessness could stay in. But one of our key thought processes there is how do we make sure that this facility is trauma informed? Like from the paint that we put on the walls to the size of the room, to the furniture that we ordered, to the things that we didn't want folks to be triggered by the trauma of their past, but really think about, okay, so if we put a red wall up there that signifies anger and, just aggression, then we're probably going to get anger and aggression, right? But if we put a blue wall, then, or a nice, warm green wall, we'll probably get better attitudes and have better conversations. If we put a whole bunch of mirrors up, where they're looking at themselves compared to the life they had, then we probably might get some. So literally from the tile, the cold tile that you could put, to a warm, different type of floor that might be more cushiony, we're all trauma-informed thought processes. And then obviously I shouldn't say obviously because nothing's obvious, right? But from my case managers and the folks that I brought in, what are we going to do in our conversations? How are we going to approach our conversations? So I can't wait to talk to you because I feel like I've lived some of this life. But before we get into that and before we get into those questions, Mike, I'd love for you to tell your story and what it is that brought you to me today. And, you start as early as you want to, spend as much time as you want to, because I think it's more important that people know who you are before they know what you do. So the floor is yours. Can't wait to have this conversation.
Thanks, Brian. I'm honored to be here, and I love what you just shared because it is really important. What you're talking about in dealing with trauma is the environment. So yeah, and I was born in a messy environment. Many ways, you could say I'm a trauma poster child. Both my parents were at Pearl Harbor. My father was a fighter pilot. My mother worked as the assistant to the Pacific Fleet, and they were there right in the middle of the bombing, which was pretty major, obviously. And they didn't come out too well. My mother, for many reasons, became mentally ill after that. For the first 2.5 years of my life, I was born just before the atomic bombs were dropped. And she, they didn't even call it mentally ill. They just kind of hid it. but she tried to kill me for the first 2 years, 2.5 years of my life. And then I found her hanging at 2.5.
Oh,
So that was my first trauma. And
yeah.
my father, who was quite absent and really in his grief, was not available. So I had several pretty bad stepmothers, sexual abuse, and many other kinds of abuse, mostly absence. So that was the start. Then my second stepmother, her maiden name was Severe. How's that for picking a good name for a,
Oh gosh.
right?
Oh,
Severe.
oh my gosh. Yes.
So I dealt with that all the way past my father's death. In fact, she ended up, a final blow was cutting me out of a very large will of my
Oh
father.
gosh.
So at 7, I found my dog hanging, my second hanging. I lost a number of childhood friends, one of whom I believe was killed by his parents. And then the real shocker was at 32, my wife was raped and murdered in Carmel, California, and I was a suspect for 42 years. So that's just the highlights I'm giving you a
Oh
little
my
bit.
gosh, Michael. No,
So,
this has happened to
so when
one
I say I'm a
individual.
trauma poster child, I'm not kidding. But also, through that whole thing, it motivated me,
Uh-huh.
to first I got into a lot of trouble, drugs, stealing cars, and wild days in my youth, lots of drugs. But in about 1972, I did some programs and I realized, oh my God, you mean I'm responsible for my own life? And that became a lifelong process of healing and teaching and working with other people. So I've been working, I was an organizational development consultant working for 35 years. I'm on the faculty of the Shift Network. I teach a number of different things. I was on the Shift Network, I started the Shamanic Wisdom Summit. So I got to interview and go all over the world interviewing shamans from around the world. And just, I've been in healing professions most of my life. About 10 years ago, I had a teacher who just made this simple sentence, said, we're swimming in a sea of trauma. And I went, oh my God, that's the linchpin for every issue we have, whether it's war or racism, enslavement, climate change, you name it. At the back of that is trauma. And trauma is very misunderstood. It's perhaps the most misdiagnosed, misunderstood source of suffering on the planet. And so I began to really explore at a very deep level and found that most of what people are doing to heal trauma doesn't work. That's the first thing. You cannot heal trauma with cognitive behavioral therapy, psychotherapy. It's really because, so I'll just say a little bit about trauma. So trauma is not the thing that happened to us. It's what happened in us when the thing happened. That's very different. If it was the thing that happened, we would never be able to heal from it. So what happens in a traumatic moment is there's the nervous system, first of all, has been evolving for hundreds of thousands of years. So the nervous system in an overwhelming situation fragments a part of ourselves and shuts. Sorry, I've had a real long day, so if I'm slurring my words, I'm not drunk or something. I'm just tired. But anyway, trauma again isn't the thing that happened. So we have access to it, and the nervous system has been evolving literally for hundreds of thousands of years to, in an overwhelming situation, fragment a part of our essence and push it down. What does it do? It ends up as tension or numbness in the body. That's a simplistic way of looking at it. So trauma itself is basically unfinished past. I call it after time. It's like, you have an argument with your wife or your husband or something, and I can't believe she said that or he said that, and you're mad, all night, and you're sleeping on the other side of the bed, and then the next morning you're still upset. I can't believe she said that to me. And 5 days later, 5 years later, 10 years later, you're still carrying that. And it lives in the body as tension or numbness. And that's like your refrigerator, your refrigerator keeps things cold by being plugged in. Well, when you're having tension and numbness, it's actually not tension or numbness. It's tensing and numbing. And that takes an amazing amount of energy, which leads to anxiety and stress. And 60 to 90% of all of our illnesses are stress related. And so in order to be able to integrate, healing is integration. Integration means I was able to feel the thing that happened. I don't need to have the story, because some of it's implicit, like you said, in utero, the first 2.5 years, what you have is implicit memory. And if someone was evolving as a child, if they weren't felt, seen, heard, held, and protected, then they didn't have someone co-regulating with them. So they didn't learn to self-regulate. And self-regulate means I'm able to handle my anger. I'm able to, organize. I'm able to pay my bills. I'm able to have conversations and, like you said, connections with people. Because you talked about disconnection and connection in the very beginning there. Well, the first side effect of trauma is disconnection. I become a separate self. So that's one way of looking at myself, as a separate identity. So I'm over here and Brian's over here and we're talking together, and it looks like, oh, he's way over in Colorado and I'm here in California. And yeah, that's one way. But actually, there's a much more real way that we know each other and connect with each other. Because I feel you in my nervous system, and you feel me in your nervous system. And my capacity to know you is my capacity to feel you, physically, emotionally, mentally feel you. And so if I'm traumatized and I'm numb, or I'm so tense that I can't do that, then I can't actually feel you, because I can only feel you to the extent of my ability to feel myself, my capacity. Okay. Does this make sense? So the first side effect is that I can't ever really feel you. I can talk to you, I can project on you, I can, listen to you and have an intelligent conversation, but I can't really know you. And the other part of it is when I carry trauma, and by the way, we are all trauma. If you think you're not you are traumatized, you are. If you're not individually traumatized, you're traumatized familial, you're traumatized ancestral, you're traumatized collective, historic, geographic, immigration, you name it. And we carry all that in our body. Our body is like the Library of Alexandria. It has everything that ever happened is in your body. And so the first part of healing is to actually recognize I have a body and I can sense feeling. I can know what's in my body. Most of us are numb. We're in our heads. We need to learn how to be in our body. But if you've got a lot of trauma, that's not so comfortable, because when I start to feel my body, all that pain comes up and I go, no, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that fear. I don't want to feel that belt that my father had. I don't want to feel that time when my parents kept fighting and hitting each other. I don't want to feel that. So I keep it suppressed, and I keep it suppressed.
I want to just quickly, because as I'm hearing this, I've heard a lot about the trauma that is part of the, our ancestral trauma, or it's part of our DNA. Is that truly affected in our bodies? I mean, are we born with, some of the trauma from? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, I want to make sure I made that clear.
Let me tell you how I approach trauma. I have a particular. First of all, the main way I approach trauma is it's not an illness. It's not a discrepancy. It's not a dysfunction. It's not even something you need to get rid of. Trauma is an intelligence. So when I say, I can't feel my fear, I say, no, wait, it's not a problem. It's an intelligence. I was smart enough to not feel my fear or my anger at a time when it was too overwhelming to do it. So I pushed it down, right? So it's an intelligence. So I need to learn what was the intelligence of this trauma experience that I had. That's how I begin to integrate, and I feel it in my body. So I allow the pain to come up, and instead of turning away from it, I turn towards it in a titrated way. Titration is, in chemistry, they have like a beaker of base and an acid, and they pour a little bit in. It doesn't blow up. So they pour a little more in, and it doesn't blow up. Well, that's how you do trauma work. You do it, you titrate it. You have to do a little bit at a time because you don't want to re-traumatize yourself. So if you get too overwhelmed, you need to resource yourself. And that's what I teach people, is how to resource. And I do trauma circles. I do a lot of them. I do them online and I do them in person. A trauma circle, I get together with 12 to 15 people. And because we were wounded in relationship, and it makes sense that we are best healed in relationship. And someone says, I just feel unlovable. And 5 people go, yeah, I do too. I feel unwanted. I feel like I'm not good enough. Whatever those things are. The second, after the sense of separation of trauma, the second thing that comes up is a sense of scarcity. Not enough. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough good people. And that keeps us more separate. And then we have a break in space-time. What I mean by that is we keep putting our past into what we call our future and living into the past, right? Because trauma is unintegrated past. So I like to say integrated past is presence. It no longer has an effect on me. I don't have a lot of effect around my mother's suicide, my father's absence. Once in a while I have a thought about it, things come up, but it just moves through me. So life isn't happening to me, life is moving through me. That's a very different thing than life is happening to me. So, yeah. So let's see, where was I going with this? I'm very passionate. You can probably tell. So trauma circles. Trauma circles are so that I can be witnessed. So when I wasn't felt, seen, heard, held, and protected, with a loving mother or father looking in my eyes and saying, you exist, you're okay, you're beautiful, you're powerful, or instead of, you're a worthless piece of whatever, which many people I work with have had that kind of experience. So when I'm in a situation where I can touch into those things and be seen by other people, then naturally I integrate. Integration means that the experience now is just history.
Yeah.
Integrated trauma is just history. Or you could say integrated trauma is presence. Because I'm not hooked out of the present. I'm present and unintegrated trauma is destiny. Unintegrated trauma is destiny. I'm going to live out, and they call it repetition compulsion. I'm going to live that out over and over and over again. Why? Because my body wants to heal. My psyche, my nervous system wants to heal. We're designed to heal. So if I get a cut in my finger and I leave it alone, what happens?
It eventually gets infected.
It heals, right? It scabs and it heals. Might have a scar, but it heals. Well, the nervous system is the same way. So it's always trying. So, I do a lot of work in relationship. I teach about relational intimacy. That's one of my big courses. And I teach that from a perspective of there's no such thing as a relationship. There's living side by side. There's living side by side, and there's relating. So I look at life as a verb, not a noun, because if I call it a relationship, what am I saying when I say I have a relationship with someone?
How will I know?
Yeah, but how will I know that I'm related to them?
I don't know.
Only by looking at the past.
Oh yeah, because you wouldn't know anything because the future hasn't happened.
But if I'm relating, then I'm curious, you know? I don't wake up in the morning, my partner, I go, hi, honey, oh, would you brush your teeth? You know, it's kind of bad. Yeah, or maybe if I'm actually curious, I wake up in the morning and I go, whoa, who is this person I'm sleeping next to? What can I discover about them today that I never knew about them? I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to find out who you are, even though that I'll never fully do that. That's what I'm committed to, finding out who you are newly every single day.
Because we're all somebody new every single day because we all are growing.
If we're growing, if we're not stuck in repetition compulsion.
There you go. Okay. Gotcha.
Because how we learn, like a toddler, we go out and we look and we say, oh, you know, I'm curious. I want to look at this. And then the dog barks and the child runs back and says, mommy, mommy. So I'm curious and I'm scared. And then there's repair and I grow and I evolve. There's curious and then I come back. I get, and let me give you an example of something you would never think as a trauma. So take that same thing. A toddler crawls the dog towards the dog and the dog barks. And the child comes running back. Daddy, 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 I'm scared. I'm scared. And daddy says, don't be scared. There's nothing to be scared about. That's a trauma. Why is that a trauma, Brian?
Yeah, because it's not true, for one thing, because there is something to be, you know, fear is okay. It's just learning.
That's right. That's right. But he answered an emotional question with a cognitive answer. There was a disconnect, right? Yeah. Now you do the same thing, and gender works either way, but the child comes back and the dog barks, you know, mommy, mommy, I'm scared. And mommy says, oh, sweetheart, come here, sit on my lap. You know what? I get scared sometime too, and it's okay to be scared. And the baby goes, oh, and goes and plays with the dog, right?
Mm-hmm. So with the motion, yes.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So again, it comes back to I need to be in my body. When we go back to relationships, I'm talking about relationships. I say, you know, I'm relating. I'm constantly new. I'm present. I'm bringing myself in and I'm expanding my capacity, because literally what happens when I integrate trauma is my nervous system expands. I have more space. Mm-hmm. My cup is bigger. I can hold more life. That's called evolution, right? When I break a habit, which is a structure, a crystallized structure in my body, some of them we really need. I need habits to walk. I need,
of course, yeah.
I need a lot of habits, but I have also habits that aren't so good. Mm-hmm. When I actually meet that habit and I stop that habit in some way, I've made an evolutionary jump in not only myself, but I heal my ancestors backwards, and I heal my children forwards, and I heal the collective in that area of stress that the collective is carrying. So the collective is always informing and teaching me. Look at right now, the state of the world right now. It's insane, particularly the US, right? So all of that is feeding me. I get anxious, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed. You know, I'm shutting down parts of myself in order to just get by every day. But I also have the capacity, by doing my inner work, what Jung called the shadow work, the parts that I don't want to accept about myself, the parts that I don't want to acknowledge that, you know, I have, or I certainly don't want anybody to see those parts, right? That's my shadow. That's why I work in circles. Your shadow comes out and it gets exposed, and you no longer have to hide it. And you have, again, a bigger cup, more capacity to hold life. Yeah.
Well, so much more emotion and hold back, and the feeling of those harmful emotions like shame when you're hiding it, and because you're always worried that somebody's going to find out. And if they do, you're thinking already how you're going to feel when somebody finds out, and you're living that out from the past, as if it really is that's really going to happen, and it never does. And then in your circle group, then you get that out there. Well, the possibility of somebody secretly finding out is gone because you've already told everybody. So
Don't have to hide it anymore.
you don't have to hide anymore. So which is huge. One of the things that I'd love to ask you about, since we're talking about this, and I'll try to use the word relation now instead of relationship, because I am so into, what I used to
Relating. It's a verb.
relating, the verb, instead of relationship, which is a noun. But when I think of like our internet, what our kids and our young adults and the folks that are, I think we're generation alpha now, where we got the first generation that has never known life without a screen, and I think of how much they hide behind it, and then how important our chemical structure is, and the trauma of being around and relating to people, and how far removed they are now by hiding behind these screens, and the things that people will say to others, and the trauma that comes from the belief of this person's doing more than I'm being able to do, but they don't see that person's whole life. They just see what they're putting up online.
Yeah.
How are we
You must have
going
read
to?
my book. You must
Oh,
have read my book, because I have a whole chapter on that also.
oh, nice. Oh man, we're having a good time.
Traumatized, a love story, healing the
Uh-huh.
wounds that separate, alienate, and marginalizes. Get it on Amazon, get it at your bookstore, wherever. But I have a whole chapter on social media, AI, and post-truth.
Okay.
And the impact of what's happening now, particularly with AI, which is doing double exponential 2 times itself every year now. So the speed of this is frightening when you understand a little bit about what's happening, particularly just on the health side, climate side. The data centers that we're building are destroying neighborhoods. They're sucking up the water. Arizona, Tucson, I think it was, just voted down this big data center. They don't have any water. The amount of water and the amount of electricity that's used to build these massive things. I tell you that within 2 years, we're going to be having a lot, and mark my words, we're going to be having a lot of the World Wide Web breaking down. We're going to have it. It's already starting. But the whole thing, when you look at social media, first of all, negativity sells 10 times better. And with horror pictures, 30 times deeper. And then with doom scrolling, you get all this. So people are getting completely mesmerized. And then also, the news is completely managed by all the data they've collected on us.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I may not get the same news. I suspect we get some that's similar, but we're a different color, we're a different profession.
Everything.
So it starts getting fed more and more, and then AI can listen to your show and take Brian, and then take your voice and your picture and put it out there, and having you say nasty, dirty things about somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't tell the difference. You cannot tell the difference.
No.
And that's hitting us now. So we have a break in the possibility of even knowing what reality is. When you're in the Matrix, you don't know you're in the Matrix.
Right? Don't know exists.
So the best thing that you can do is get trauma informed, trauma integrated. I tell you, this is the thing that we need to do to save the future of humanity. This is not just, my uncle Barry went to Vietnam, and he's, I work with a lot of vets, but, no, this is like everyone, children, and when you integrate this, it ripples back. So the things that you're doing over and over again, my friend Terry Real, he's a well-known therapist, a number of books out. He says, we marry our unfinished business. And it is so true. Whatever trauma you have will perfectly match the person that you come up with. And that will give you an opportunity then to work on those issues. So if one person can stay present enough to actually be there when the other person goes off into a trigger, into a reflex, getting stuck in something, and the other person can hold space, That allows you to grow in a relationship, but mostly we don't. We blame the other. We hold on to things. I heard a couple sitting at a table, they were about my age in their 70s or 80s, and they were having this argument. And I could tell that they'd probably been having that argument for at least 50 years. The same over and over again.
Wow.
And that, if we pay attention, we'll notice that we do that too. We have the same arguments with our parents, with our siblings, so it's really important that people actually get trauma informed. And like I said, it's not a mental issue. It's a physical and emotional issue. We need to get back in our bodies. So many people I work with can't even feel their emotions.
Yeah.
So there's a distinction that people don't get.
Gotcha.
Feeling. Go ahead. Let me finish one thing. Feelings live in the fabric of the mind. Emotions live in the body, the theater of the body, the theater of the mind. So we don't distinguish between feelings and emotions. So an example is like a feeling is happiness. Happiness is a feeling. Why? Because it's mental. It's dependent on what happened. I got the job. I got rid of the wife. I won the lottery. I did this, right? I have all of these things. But the counterpart to that, and they do work together, but the counterpart of that is joy. Joy is just an upwelling. I'm walking through the forest and I see the sunlight on the top of the trees and I just, wow, that's amazing. There's no reason for it. I'm just like alive. And every emotion, Brian, every emotion, there's no such thing as a bad emotion. Every emotion is a teacher. And the ones we call bad, shame or anger or grief or fear, whatever we call the negative ones, no, those are the best teachers. Those are the ones we want to turn towards.
And those ones, if we allow to be taught by them, right? That's when they get a hold of us when we don't, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, mostly it's just a reaction. So there's always, between the stimulus and the response, there's always a choice. And you know where I learned this from? From what's his name? Who was in Auschwitz? I got a blank on his name right now. But anyway, 3 years in Auschwitz, and he made it out. The last of the human freedoms is the freedom to choose our attitude under any given circumstance. The last of our given freedoms is the freedom to choose our attitude under any given circumstance. This guy was in Auschwitz for 3 years.
Yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about. I can't think of his name either.
Yeah.
But it'll come to me. It'll come to you. We'll see who it comes to first. The question I have is I got 3 eyes in here, but how do you identify the trauma and then integrate it and then inform either yourself or others about it so that it now goes through you, like you said, instead of stops and repeats? How do we identify those things?
Those great questions. So anytime I'm triggered, I'm reactive. Somebody drives by me and gives me the finger, and I step on the gas and I'm angry and I take it to work. That's revealing a trauma. Somebody, there's so many ways. I may feel really defensive, or I may have an overwhelming fear come up. All of those are unfinished past, which is all we're talking about. We're talking about past that has been perhaps passed down for many generations. Those are called legacy burdens, intergenerational trauma that we carry. Let's say, my grandfather killed somebody in the war and it turned out they were an innocent victim. And he carried this deep shame and guilt, and that his son picked it up. And then the son of that picked it up. And until that gets felt, that deep shame that they're carrying, You look at the wars that are going on now. There's 32 wars on the planet, right?
Is it really that many right now? Oh my gosh.
There's 32 wars. We mostly pay attention to the white ones, unfortunately, but there are a lot of wars going on. And so those are all trauma-based. Everything is trauma. What's happening in Israel and Gaza, what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, what's happening in Sudan, what's happening in Myanmar, Thailand, all of these different, wars that are going on are all unfinished past because we hold ourselves separate. We can't connect. So we need to learn to be able to take another view, what my friend calls the balcony view or the third side. You and I are having an argument. We need to have the ability to watch ourselves in argument and go, is this really getting anywhere, or are we just pushing at each other's, beliefs?
Yeah.
Right.
Viktor Frankl.
So that's Viktor Frankl. You beat me. Thanks. But I'm older than you, Brian. So
there
I have So yeah. So how do you identify it? So you identify it. It also lives as stress or tension in my body. So if I have chronic stress, like my neck and shoulders, maybe, you can be sure there's trauma attached to that. So those are a couple ways that I can identify it. Being triggered, noticing what's happening in my body, noticing if I have a repetition behavior, like I never can make enough money, or I'm always angry, or, things that are repetitious. Those are signs of trauma. So that's how I identify it. Then I need to get someone who can actually sit with me and feel me and be with me and see with me. That's again why I do circles. Because if I'm felt and seen, I no longer have to push it down and hide it. I can feel it. So I feel it in little bits. And this is what I do with my circles, but also with my private clients. I have a lot of people I do work with on the internet, and you can find out more by going to welloflight.com. It'll give you, more ways to connect with me if you're looking and you're feeling overwhelmed with life right now, which a lot of us are. I still have some room for private clients, and I do circles. So those are the ways that I can work with you if you need that. So it was identify it, and the second one was to, what was it? The second
I say integrate. Well, how do we begin to integrate the trauma?
So you integrate by turning towards it, not away, by feeling it in my body, by sticking with the emotional part of it. So it's really that sensing into it and allowing myself to feel those things that I've been pushing away. So it's not trying to fix it. So here's what happens with my clients that I work with. Here's the thing, right? The thing that I want to get rid of. It's right here. And people say, Michael, help me get rid of this thing. I said, no, you don't want to get rid of that thing, because I want to get to the other side of my fear, the other side of my anger, to the other side of my grief. And I want to get rid of this. But I've already pushed this down. I've already dissociated and pushed this away at a younger age. So here I am. I'm pushing away a part that I've already denied and pushed away earlier. But no. So I'm trying to get over that, but it's not that. I need to get to know this part of me. I need to turn toward it. I need to embrace it. I need to learn how to hold that anger, that fear, whatever it is. And so that's why we need a safe space where people can feel their body and feel their emotions. And it's really the key to it. It's not trying to fix something. It's not getting rid of anything. It's simply expanding your capacity for presence, for recognizing. Part of the work I do is meditation. I work with people to learn how to do a type of trauma meditation. In fact, when people buy my book, you can sign up for my free Tuesday morning class. It's the book club, and you can come to that. So you just go to Well of Light and sign up for it. You got to buy the book. And then that's for the price of a book. I cost a lot more than the price of a book privately. So to buy a book, Tuesday mornings from 8 to 9 Pacific time. You can join us in the book club, and I do a meditation. I'll do a teaching from the book, and then I'll also do some process work. I record the first part, but I don't record the process part, because
private
for safety.
Oh my gosh.
Obviously, but the meditation and the teaching is online. You can look at them now. There's some of them are on YouTube. So I just started this a couple of weeks ago, so you can check it out.
What's so cool about our conversation today, and I'm having such a good time and being very selfish and asking the questions that I want to learn, but my epiphany is like marriages that I see, including my own, when we are having whatever that argument is or whatever we're having, and my inkling is to solve or fix the problem with a cognitive answer that has nothing to do with emotion, and then get mad when it's not being received as the advice of the year or what you need to do to fix it or what you need to do, because I'm not feeling and I'm not hearing and I'm not part of that.
That's right. That's exactly right. And it's worse than you think.
Okay.
Because what you're doing when you do that and offer solutions, you're avoiding feeling your own trauma.
Ooh. Wow.
So if you know that, and then you're in that kind of argument, then you recognize, you say, sweetheart, I just realized I'm trying to fix you again. And I learned from Michael Stone that when I'm trying to fix you, I'm trying to bypass my own pain and my own trauma.
Yeah, because I don't want to deal with it.
Exactly.
What I'm hearing, right? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, just that. Yeah, if you guys watch this over and over again, you might be able to fix your marriage without having to spend time with a whole bunch of people, you know. But I see that in just how others even react to folks that come in for help or coming for coaching or come in for things where it's always, hey, this is what is affecting me right now because of, and I need to integrate it and I need to, make it so it's not part of my repetitiveness, but all you're doing is telling me all these steps that I can do, in a cognitive way.
And integrating is not a doing. There's no doing in integrating.
Okay.
It's a feeling. I feel my tension. I feel the part of my body that's hard. I feel the place where I'm numb. I feel the emotions as they come up, right? And so it's not a doing. It's literally, this is what the mystics have always been saying. You turn towards it. Read Rumi, The Guest House. I don't know if you know the poem "The Guest House" by Rumi, but he says, invite it all in. Invite the sorrows in, the anger in. Invite them in. They may tear your house apart, but they may show you something that you were needing to learn. So invite it all in.
That's scary though. It's scary to invite it all in, right? Because
that's why I do circles. I started this a number of years ago. I'm trying to teach other people how to do circles, and it's that's where the healing is. We got to get connected, Brian. We are in big trouble on a global basis because we're disconnected. We're disconnected because we're traumatized. Bottom
line. But we want to control our daily, from the time we get up to the day we
go.
We
the fourth side effect. So I told you, the first one is a sense of separate self. The second one is that I'm a sense of scarcity. The third one is a break in space time. I'm putting my past in my future. And the fourth one is I need to be in control. I need to manage everything. So if you're needing to always be in control and manage, I promise you, you are traumatized. Wow. And here's something important though. Okay. Those early traumas. So we have a trauma that happens, an overwhelming, we get yelled at, or we see our parents fighting, and then we try to be a referee. And when we see our parents fighting, and especially if it's abusive, and we see that happening, we say, as a little person, a small person, we say, something's wrong, but we never say something's wrong with my parents. We say something's wrong with me because I can't fix this. That's important. And then we carry that for the rest of our life, and we create a strategy. So we have the trauma that happens, we have the something's wrong, and we have the adaptation to it. So I see the parents and I want to fix it. And so, you know, I keep trying, but I get beat up all the time if I try to help them. So what happens? I become a therapist.
I love it. I
become
love
a nurse or a doctor or a helper, you know, because my adaptive self, I have an adaptive self to protect myself. So the overwhelm comes, the tension in the body, all that comes, but then I have to adapt. So I become the smart one, the pretty one, the helper, the, you know, and that becomes my profession.
Wow.
And look at that. What does that mean? Look at how many traumatized doctors and nurses we have.
Oh my gosh. Because I got to heal everybody else so I don't have to deal with.
Exactly. Exactly. It was my adaptation to my trauma. And so my strength is also part of my weakness.
Wow. Are there levels of trauma? I mean, you know, I don't know why this came into my head, but I think, you know, when in the Bible, we talk about levels of sin and God said all sin is sin. Is trauma all trauma, or is there definite?
Yeah, there's complex trauma that is, you know, over and over again. There's trauma that is a one incident, like my parents being at Pearl Harbor. You know, there's many different types. It's not so much levels as types and depths of trauma. Much of the trauma, you know, our early adaptation. There's a thing called adaptation styles, developmental adaptation styles, and there's basically 4 different types. I won't get into them, but it has to do with, you know, half the world has a fairly decent, but they also are carrying other trauma, you know, in terms of childhood. But in childhood development, there's avoidant, because no one was there to see me. So I'm not going to get hurt again. I'm going to avoid pain. I'm going to avoid, you know. And then there's ones when, you know, mom was there sometimes and really there, and sometimes not. So that's ambivalent. So now I have a hard time with relationships. Like I get clingy and then I push away, and I get clingy and I push away, you know. And then there's mine, which is chaotic and chaotic and disruptive. You know, it's just all over the place because I had so many different kinds of trauma.
Different bombardment of it. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So that's another kind. That's the toughest to work with, but you know, that's what I've spent my life working on, and I still work on it.
Can all trauma be integrated, or is there just some trauma that's too big, too much?
I believe that all trauma, but I also believe that there's no end to the trauma there is to integrate.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah.
So if
you always work on it for your whole life.
I'm doing my shadow work, and I have to give up the myth of someday.
Okay.
That's another issue I have with people. You know, there are several issues that are repetitive. One of them is someday. If I do this, I'm going to get here. I'm going to get to this place. No, give up someday. There's no someday. There's now. And the only place the future happens is in presence. Future happens in the present.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
The conditions for future, for evolution, happen now in the present by my fully being here, by my fully being available. So,
oh my gosh.
sorry, I just got distracted a little bit.
We're talking about someday.
Yeah, someday. Yeah, give it up. Give it up.
It's so funny you said that, because I said I just did a video where I was, you know, I think I was just telling folks to stop on procrastination, and I said, here's the deal: someday is not a day on your calendar. So stop trying to put it there. The here is now and do it now. Just what you were saying is we spend all this time someday. And, no, the present is, the killer about the present is as soon as it's the present, it's the then, because we can't hold the present. Because as soon as I say the word, it's now then. So all we can do is work on who we can become instead of worrying about who we've been. But the who we've been is so important to get through and understand what's happened to us, right?
Right. And that's how we evolve, so you're not trying to get someone, you're trying to get more and more here. More and more here gives us more capacity to meet life. It is an evolutionary impulse. Here is an evolutionary impulse. So the more here I am, the more we as a collective heal. People say, what are we going to do about the government? What are we going to do about this happening? What about this? What about that? Like, it's all out there. No, there's one place you need to do the work. It's here.
It's here.
You do your inner work. That doesn't mean you don't be an activist and be involved and just eat bonbons all day, but it means that as I'm evolving, I'm creating more and more presence. That presence is infectious. When someone, look, think about when somebody's just like really there with you. Like, we're here, we're together, but when you're really with somebody, it expands us. That's that what you were talking about in the very beginning, connecting. When we can really connect, then you and I could figure out anything when we're connected.
Oh my gosh.
But when we're not, genocide, killing, shooting, insanity.
32 wars. Yeah, it's So we got a few minutes left, but there's a couple things I want. One, I want you to tell us everything you really want to talk about that I took you away from. But your background has a wolf, an eagle, and a mouse, and then we got the flowers over here. So I just want to know. I mean, I'm watching them and I look at them. They're not moving, but I'm just trying to find what are they. So tell me that first, and then go into all the things we did.
This was from my radio show, which also some of it was podcast, but also I was the host of the Shamanic Wisdom Summit. I still have the same studio background now because I like it. And those are just helping animals that I work with. So, well, one thing, people can get a hold of me. I'm taking a trip to Hawaii with people coming up in November. So you can check on my website about that, welloflight.com, WELLOFLIGHT.com, and get my book. Everybody who reads this book, here's the thing that people say when they read my book. I thought I was reading about a book about you, Michael, and your trauma. And when I got done, I realized I was reading a book about me. That's what we hear.
That's the transformation.
Reflections back. Yeah. So get the book, join the book club. That's a great thing. And join a circle. I have new circles starting online in the middle of September. In my area, I have live ones in person, but the online circles are great. If you're having a lot of anxiety and pain and overwhelm, check and see if I have any openings, to work with me. You can. I guess you can probably get a sense of me. I'm pretty passionate about it, but I'm also really committed to getting people trauma integrated, to getting rid of legacy burdens that we carry from our ancestors, and helping people who are raising children to be better parents. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah, so many takeaways. I can't wait to get the book. I can't wait to dive into it and read it.
I love to hear that.
What I hear when I thought we were going to talk, I figured that we would find people that says, I feel like I have some trauma and I need to, I would love to, learn what I need to do in order to be able to move forward or move on. What I realized after our conversation is we all have it, and we all need a way that we can start to begin to be integrated and to take the trauma that we've had and then be able to evolve into who we were meant to be. I mean, a lot, you can see on my thing where like a lot of what I try to help people with is becoming the person that they were meant to be by being in purpose. And the chapter in your book, I can't read to read it, but what I realize now is I'm missing a chapter in my book. Well, I'll have to go rewrite it or write it in the next one, because I didn't talk about, in order to become the person, we have to deal with the trauma that's been part of,
Right.
who you are. Because if you are in this repetitive cycle, you'll read my book and say, oh, these are great ideas, and I could probably do them, but not why that other stuff is still what is circling your life all the time. Right?
And remember this, it's really important. We heal in relationships, being relating to another. You will learn everything you need to know to heal and to grow is in every relationship, every opportunity for relating for someone, whether it's the person at the grocery counter or the gas station or your boss or your wife, doesn't matter. Being in the movement of relating, because what are we? What is a human being? A human being is movement. That's what we are. Movement meets movement. So I'm always looking at how much space I have to hold life. What's the movement, the information, the data that's happening in me, and how can I feel myself feeling you, feeling me in the space between us?
Oh my gosh. So good. Oh my gosh. So hey, we are just, I mean, at the time, he's been running all day, and you can imagine the energy that he just spent with us and what he gave us. If he's been doing that all day, he's going to sleep for like a week. So, but I know that's what you do every day.
I get energy from doing this, Brian. This energizes you saved me. I was exhausted, actually, and when I came on here, you lit me up. It's good.
So good. So if you're looking for, go ahead and hit subscribe and hit notifications and all that. What I truly want you to do is I want you to go get his book. I want you to understand this. We started a community called Becoming the Person Universe. You'll hear a lot more about it as we do stuff. I'm going to have Michael come back, and there's no way he's not going to talk and do some seminars and do some things with us that are going to be able to help you change your life. Michael, it has been a pleasure.
I look forward to that, Brian.
Honor. I can't wait to talk to you more.
Me too. Really a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. All right, go get his book right now. I'm not going to try to end the show until you do something else. Just go get his book. Get on his website. Have some fun. We love you guys. Can't wait to the next one. Have an amazing, awesome, incredible day. And we will talk to you guys on the next one. See you later.